can't change over time. And I don't even get on the subject of time. Okay. I'm pounding through these because if I start to dawdle, I did one of these one night and people actually showed up. And it was like a bunch of you were here, and I was like not really the studying, I think I had blown off studying, so I was a little off. So then I go, oh, I better really study for this, I better really hit the books, and then and then less people show up, but it's always when you least expect it that you actually have to explain something. Okay. But then, know that these reasonings, refuting the faculty that sees, refute the faculties that hear, smell, taste, touch, and the mental faculty as well. Refute the hearer and other perceiving consciousnesses. Refute sound and the other perceived objects. Master Nagarjuna wrote this chapter for the people who said that the senses, they exist. If the senses exist, then not everything is dependently originating and empty. If the ability to see exists, then not everything is empty. They're always trying to show things back to Master Nagarjuna and say, often they'll take very hard substances like, well, that mountain there must exist. How can you say that that mountain there doesn't exist from its own side? It's there, man. And here they say, if the various senses, taste, touch, eye sense power, if they exist, then we have existence here, Mr. Emptiness. And he came back with, they do not exist. If they do exist, they have to either exist sequentially or simultaneously. This table, this is an object of my perception. If it exists sequentially, then there must be a moment that either a perceiving subject that existed then took on the perceiving object and then had a perceiving consciousness and awareness of table. And what Master Nagarjuna argues is that you're missing the point that a person that sees a table, a perceiving subject cannot exist before and then take on the fact that it's a perceiving subject assumes that there's an object in which it's perceiving. But if it's to exist sequentially, then there's going to be a moment where there's a perceiving subject called a perceiving subject without an object to be perceived. Similarly, there may be a moment that an object is existing there, a perceived object, without a perceiving subject. And then it goes to the simultaneous. Is there an object that's perceived and a perceiving subject that exists simultaneously with the same problems of if they exist simultaneously, they must be inherently existent and they cannot be causes for one another. But the sequential thing is a big problem. If there's what comes first, the chicken or the egg, the person seeing the table or the object perceived. If there's a moment that there's a person trying to perceive a perceiving subject, a person seeing a table, cannot be a person perceiving the table the moment before. They cannot happen sequentially. They cannot be a moment where it just takes on the perception of a table. There cannot be a moment in between there that there's a time lag from one moment to the next. The previous moment there is a person, a perceiving subject. And then the next moment, there's an object which is perceived. These things are a dependent arising. But the way in which you think reality is functioning around us ain't happening that way, because logically it can't happen that way. There must be a moment where there's just a dude without him seeing an object. without something there to be observed. Before it's a dude observing something, but that's impossible because a perceiving subject entails there must be an object to be seen. They can't all be, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's not simultaneous. Because that would entail the problems of not being able to be causes for each other, or having an inherent existence, which they would have no connection for two things. For something to be a cause for something else, the cause finishes and then the effect happens, it flops over. For those things, for a perceiving subject and an object which is perceived to exist at the same time, they couldn't be causes for each other because they have to exist at the same time. When an effect is achieved, the causes are spent. I don't know if that meant anything. Except for there being the cause of form, form would not be seen. Except for there being what we call form, the cause of form would not appear either. In the Abhidharma Kosha, they say form is either one of the elements or caused by one of the elements. It's earth, water, fire, air. But different ways they broke down the classic elements. They didn't have the chart of, I forget what that chart is in science class with all the various. Yeah, they didn't have the chart of the elements back there. So they assumed it is earth, water, fire, air, earth. So that is the causal form of the result, which would be the ability to see, the ability to hear, the various senses. And here they go into the previous logical analysis that those elements cannot exist before, they cannot exist sequentially or simultaneously. There cannot be a sense that was created before the elements. There cannot be a cause that existed before its effect, an effect that existed before its cause, and there cannot be a cause and effect that came into existence simultaneously. These are all meditations to try to get you to think about the lack of inherent existence of all phenomena. Feelings, discriminations, formations, minds, and all things there are susceptible to the same stages of analysis that forms have been put through here. These are the skandhas, the Lhunpo in Tibetan, the form, heap. There are really no self-existent forms. These are ways of trying to, like the various parts of a Buddha's body, the kayas. When they try to describe a human, they try to just say that the human has various types of aspects. It's not like we have these different parts of ourselves, but it's like a human has consciousness. There's my I sense power, an object to be seen, and then there's a consciousness. There's consciousness, there's form, there's discrimination, there's various karma and a bunch of other stuff that they throw into one heap, and there's the emotion, the volition. And Nagarjuna says, take all of these parts, the parts to a human, and go through the same analysis. Are they self-caused? Are they caused by something else? Are they both or neither? Do they exist sequentially? Do they exist simultaneously? He's just expanding those analyses to the rest of the various parts of a person. Feelings and sensations.